Okay, it is 9:54 a.m. I haven't traded anything, but I was close on a few setups, a little upsetting, but at least I guess I was on the right track. I did have a verified cancel order with NWBO 100 shares at 174, and that was at 9:30. Why? Because it was looking like it was trying to do a morning spike. After all, it's doing a nice continuation, but at the time it looks like there was a big wall of sellers that started to show up and the price action wasn't looking too good, so I canceled the order. It did downtrend, but it eventually did turn around and I wasn't able to really be a part of it. It was too quick, this move right here from the 173 to the 178 level. And then at that point, I didn't want to chase it anymore. And it did get as high as the 187s, which is nice. I also had in consideration this dip under VWAP setup, but I wanted to be a little more patient with it because of last week's trading. And this one worked out. I just don't really like the way it did it. The price action wasn't really that nice, but ideally I could have been in at 178, and it's trying to build itself up and maybe try to get near the highs again, but this was fine for what it was. SYXX, I was also watching this because it kind of opened and I was watching to see if maybe it would try to break this high right here, roughly this 98 level, and try to get to 10 cents. And I like how it was right under VWAP and it was trading below it. And I wanted it to build itself back up and then break VWAP and be in for a setup. But as you can see, this was a very strong candle. It's just like a big, I don't know, tsunami wall of market orders just bought it up to 10 cents, which is nice. You know, it did work out the setup, but I wasn't able to be a part of it for this reason because it had that large spike. I will be watching this because it is nice how I got to this level all the way to 11 cents, and then maybe it can downtrend under VWAP and then try to maybe do like a confirmed breakout over 10 cents and then start the uptrend towards the upside again. That might not be so bad, but it is kind of sketchy wanting to do a setup like that because it's up a lot of days in a row at this point. So that's really about it. PRCX, I'll be watching it if it tries to break this 80 sub penny level. It doesn't trade with that much volume, but this could be an interesting setup as well. Okay, it is 10:59 and I am back. I had one trade with SYXX and I was feeling really frustrated because I was missing on a lot of the setups, like with SYXX right here, and then I missed the one with NWBO in the morning at that 174 level, and then I didn't like how it was actually uptrending and then making a move towards a day high. I can't remember how I had the trend line, but I don't think it was based off of this level. I think it was at a higher level, right? Trade Pro doesn't glitch out on me. Yeah, I think this is how I had the trend line, and it was really frustrating how, I missed a setup here, and then this one did work out. I just didn't like the way it did it, and, I felt like I missed out, and then, it started to really break towards the day high, and I thought, is it really going to do it like this? It just seems way too sketchy. And actually did it, eventually get as high as, let me get my tool back, the 195 level. And then I had the trade here with SYXX. I'm really happy to see it falling off a cliff now, just because I'm a bit jaded. But at 1017, I did buy 1,000 shares at 1025. And why did I do it? Because it looked like it was going to break VWAP, and I didn't want to trade it at the time. I really didn't, and I wanted to be patient with it because at least for my last week trading and analysis, I was just getting in dip under VWAP setups too early. But in this case, I actually did it fine. It just didn't work out. And that sucks how, I did miss all of those nice setups and then the one I trade doesn't work out. Really frustrating. But, that's just part of trading. And I did get out I had a super wide, as you can see, limit. I wasn't really expecting it to get that low, but I did sell at 1020 at 10 cents. Right here, 1020, 10 cents at the bottom, because the main reason why I got in this setup at 1017 is because it was building up. It looked like it was going to break VWAP. It just had a dip under it, and now it's going to break above it ideally and maybe trying to run towards the day high. It also broke a trend line. I can't really remember how I had it anymore, but something like that. You can see how it was breaking it. And then like a 286,000 share bidder showed up, and that made it look super nice, super ideal, which was great. And then it just started showing a bunch of topping action. It wasn't working. And then a 400 something thousand share seller showed up at 10, I think it was like 1025. And that was really bad. And I knew that was my signal to get out, that, maybe you'll try to, break it eventually, but it's probably going to downtrend. And that's why I got out at 1020. Sure, maybe the next minute I could have tried to, sell for less of a loss, but it didn't work out. As you can see, it's downtrending, and unless it does something super obvious, I don't want to try to paper cut myself into a million pieces trying to find a bottom. If it does something super obvious with a lot of volume, I might be interested in it because it's not necessarily a morning panic bounce play. It's a bit later in the day. And as for NWBO, it could try to follow up and break out this level and do something nice, but I just don't like how it did this uptrend with the amount of volume that it did. And it just makes me feel like it's floating on air, and this thing can have a really sharp downtrend, which it does. You can see it has a wick here. I think this was real. This one was real. So yeah, that's really the case. And FERN could be interesting if it breaks 165. I was watching it the other day. If it was going to break this 125 level, which it did, but later, and I didn't see this part right here. I just don't like how if it does it, like we have major resistance, so that's the one thing about that one. And this one did get to the sub penny 80 level. I just didn't really like the way it did it, but it built itself up and got to a penny, which is pretty cool. Maybe if I was watching this, I might have considered here a dip towards the VWAP setup, but it kind of trades with a spread. That's really all I have for right now. I'm just going to be down a little. Yeah, just gonna be down $2.50, which is, in the long scheme of things, it's not really anything, but it was pretty frustrating. And I'm glad I took like just a small mental break, because it just seems like from what a lot of traders say, when they get really frustrated or pissed off, that's when they do a really stupid trade. This thing had a really big downtrend, so I'll be watching this, but unless it does something super obvious, I don't really want to consider trading it. Okay, it is 12:19 p.m. and I had one trade. It was just basically a practice trade. I didn't trade an actual $15 risk level. Instead, I just traded 100 shares, which was just super tiny. It wasn't going to make anything or lose very much if it doesn't work out, but I wanted to still gain from the experience. And I saw something that I've seen a lot of times work out, but I just didn't feel like maybe today was my day, but I still want to learn from it. I think it could try to work out. At least I've seen it work out before. And this was an inverse head and shoulders, the shoulder, the head, and the shoulder, and it was also after 11 a.m. So the stock is down a lot from its highs at the 11-cent level, and then it got as low as the 67 level. So that's a pretty big downtrend. And even though it's not, like down so much on the day, it was down a lot from its highs. And I thought that it could try to do something where it could do that inverse head and shoulders. This is something I've seen a lot after 11 a.m. A stock that is down a lot on the day, does a lot of moves towards the upsides. It does a reversal, ideally gets to VWAP. And the really nice ones are the ones that also have an inverse head and shoulders pattern with it too. So I saw the shoulder, head, shoulder, and I was in at 8 cents, and that was at 11.39, which was right here. I got in at 8 cents, and I knew that it didn't have to work out, but I've seen it work out a lot. And I was going to risk this level breaking, so if we were to have broken it here, this will no longer be a shoulder, and it would have broken under it. And then worst case scenario, I'm out at 65, which with a 1,000 share order, that would be a $15 risk level. But I only traded 100 just to see if it would work, and again the experience from it. So it actually was working, and it did have a trend line. And in theory, did the setup work? Not really. It kind of worked, because it did ultimately make a move from this 77 level to this roughly 83 level. and it got to the neckline of the inverse head and shoulders, in theory the neckline, but it didn't get much higher. It didn't try to get to VWAP, so that part of the ideal move of the setup didn't work out. And I did get out. I drew a trend line when it broke it. I probably would have gotten out of it, but I decided to, just stick with the fact that, I'm not going to cut it unless it breaks the 75 level. And even if it downtrends under 80, it could always be like a higher low off of the shoulder right here, and then it can continue the uptrend. So I wanted to practice holding through that. After all, I was in this setup for like a while, like 20 some minutes at least. So that's pretty much a very long time considering how long I'm normally in the setup. And again, the reason why I got out ultimately is because I was patient with it. I was going to let it downtrend as long as it's higher than here, if it's going to be a higher low. But I got out ultimately at 12:02 at 797, which was right here. 797. I got out right around here. And I got out because it was now starting to look like a head and shoulders, the shoulder. And then this was like a really wide head. And then it broke under the 8 cent level. And then there was like a whole bunch of big sellers at 8 cents. And there wasn't a lot at the bid. Kind of similar to what it is right now, but it was worse. And, at that point, it's less likely to me something that can try to uptrend at least anytime soon because of the head and shoulders, the shoulder, the head, and I thought it was going to downtrend some more and then make a shoulder. It kind of did, actually. It went to 75. And that's why I cut it for that reason. And I think I learned a lot from it. Again, I was willing for it to maybe uptrend, right, and it starts to downtrend, and oh gosh, it's at 77. I feel like crap. But then it could be again a higher low, and then it can try to work itself back to the 8 cent level, and then with more support, kind of build itself up and maybe make a move towards VWAP, which would have been the goal, or somewhere near VWAP. And it didn't really work out in that sense, but at least it did, uptrend and get to the neckline. It just didn't get much further. And I think I learned a lot from the trade. I don't think I'm going to trade anything else. FERN has been selling off ideally. It doesn't downtrend too much because it could be a morning panic bounce play, although it's not really up that many days. NWBO did do a dip under VWAP, but I didn't trade it because I didn't like this. This was like way too much resistance for me to consider. And, it is later in the day too. This could be a morning panic bounce play. This one's impressive. Maybe if I was more aggressive with this one, I could have traded it, but I don't know. I think I might have missed it because I don't like how it had a drop towards VWAP and then it uptrended a little and then it broke under it. Maybe around here when it has this move and then it kind of comes back and starts to build itself. Maybe a buy at 92 and then it did make a move above 1 penny, so that wasn't horrible. But besides that, that's really about it. I don't think I'm going to trade anything else, and I only lost, yeah, 3 pennies from that setup, but I think it was a really good learning experience, and I'll make an update later. Okay, it is 12:33. I'm not going to trade this one, not even with like a super tiny size to get the training experience. I want to see if this thing can do it. This could be the shoulder. Here could be the head of a head and shoulders, and then it could be this level right here where it's playing off of VWAP, the neckline, and now it can try to uptrend, and then maybe make another shoulder, maybe get to 1 cent, or maybe a little below it. Best case scenario, it breaks the day high. I want to see if it can do it, and it's just too many head and shoulders because here's a shoulder. This could be the head. You could even say this is a shoulder. Here's a head, so it just has these things against it. So it's really throwing me off as to whether it can work out or not. In theory, I could trade. I believe it's 15,000 shares, which isn't even a large position. But I mean, worst case scenario, maybe it breaks under VWAP, and then with the wide spread that it has, and some selling panic action, maybe I'm out at 75, and then that would be pretty much a $15 loss trading according to a $15 risk level. I also don't like how there's a wall at 92, but this thing can be taken out. I'm just recording my thoughts here, and I just want to see if it can try to make a move towards the upside or not. It just has too many things going for it and against it. It's just a flip of a coin, and I don't necessarily want to trade that, but if it works, it's gonna really make a nice move, I think. Okay, it is 10:37 p.m. and I'm here to call it off. Overall, I am down on the day just a little, $2.53. I was trading SYXX for that ideal break past VWAP that did not work out after it had a really nice spike. It had its first dip under it. I tried to be patient with it and it didn't work out. And me being patient with it actually made me somewhat miss out on this one with NWBO because I didn't want to be in a situation where maybe it's like right here and I take the trade because it dipped under it slightly, but then it keeps downtrending. I wanted to be a bit patient with NWBO, but this one actually did it. And at this point, SYXX and WBO, these things can be potential morning panic bounce plays. And I will be looking for that Friday. If there are any setups, I'll try to trade it. A bit frustrating that a few of the setups that I wanted to trade I wasn't able to be a part of, but that's totally fine. And again, the second trade here was the inverse head and shoulders. It didn't work out here, although it did actually get to VWAP later, but I wouldn't have traded this, and this is the second time I've seen this, but only with SYXX. And as for the one I was thinking about with PRCX, this one did not work out, and yeah, there were, I guess, too many things going against it, and that's what it ended up doing. It did downtrend some more. It didn't really do much more. It didn't try to reverse. This one could try to be one of those really volatile stocks that keep building up support and then do a really big green day, but I will just be watching it. And yeah, that's really about it. I think I covered a lot of things in the last recording, and ideally, hopefully, I can be able to be a part of a setup and really profit from it. It would be really nice if I could be a part of that. And, regardless, this is just great learning experience. And I think I am doing better sticking to a $15 risk level as well. That's all I have for today.